We're going to look at the properties of logarithms. This is number 31 on page 433. The directions actually ask us to express in terms of sums and differences of logarithms. So we have a logarithm. It's one single logarithm and we want to pull it apart into pieces. The first thing that we want to do is deal with that radical sign. If something is a square root, that's the same as being raised to the 1/2 power. If it's a cube root, that's the same as being raised to the 1/3 power. So we want to change it so that it's in that format and it makes it a little easier for us to deal with. So all I've done is taken my exact same problem and raised it to the 1/2 power instead of having that ugly radical in there. Next we use our rules for exponents, and when you have something that's raised to a power, you are supposed to multiply those powers. So we're supposed to multiply the 6 and the 1/2, the 5 and the 1/2, and the 8 and the 1/2. So that's what I've done in the very next step. That just simplifies things a little more. Next, we're going to use our properties of logarithm, and we're going to say that since this is a division problem, we are going to do subtraction. Remember, division means subtraction. So I've pulled this apart and I've subtracted. I have the top first, and then I subtract the bottom. See, and that's all I've done is pulled it apart. I've pulled one logarithm apart into two logarithms. Notice this part on the right hand side, on the right of the subtraction sign, still has some things that need to be pulled apart. And remember that multiplication means addition. So what I've done here is I have the subtraction. Over here I had the multiplication. I split it apart into addition, but I put brackets around it because I already had subtraction there, and that's going to affect my sign in a few minutes. The next step, the next thing that we take care of is remember that any power that you have moves to the front of the logarithm. So I've taken the 3 and moved it to the front. I will now take the 5/2 and move it to the front, and the 4 and move it to the front of each individual logarithm respectively. So that's what I've done here. I've also distributed this subtraction sign so that the subtraction sign is in front of the first logarithm, and when I distribute the subtraction with the addition sign, it is also a subtraction sign. And this is our final answer. We've split the original 1 logarithm now into 3. That's what that means. That's what they want you to do. Now we'll take a look at one that is already split and we'll put it back together. This happens to be, let's see, number 47 on page 433. It is a subtraction problem, and subtraction goes along with division. So we're going to put it back together and make that subtraction into a division problem. So all I've done is taken 2 logarithms and now I've made it into a single logarithm. Subtraction became division. Next, I'm going to work on simplifying it. I notice that these two expressions that I have here can actually be factored. So I factor each one of them. Once I factor them, I recognize that there are 2 things that I can cancel because they're the same on the top and the bottom, and I'm left with a final answer that is a simplified logarithm.